The month of March is a time of the year when this French brand releases a particular anniversary model. Now, the last couple of watches that I actually reviewed, you guys said the same things in the comment section. The watch is too big. And I think they're listening. Because what I've got here in my hands is a 36mm of the same design in titanium. And I've got to tell you, it actually wears, you guys are right, it actually wears a lot better. Now, it's not without its flaws. There are a couple of little tweaks that I think this brand should be paying attention to, and I'm going to share that in the course of this review. But overall, I'm glad I did listen and make a smaller watch because it does cater for the smaller size wrist. So let's flip the camera, let's check this brand new offering from March LAB. Now, this company was founded in 2009 and a lot of their designs are quite unique. I like what they do. They have a running theme in all of their watches, from the case shapes, the 4 o'clock crown, the fact that they have the color green. They love green, as you can see, green case, green box, green in the accents of the actual watch. And in all of their watches, on the third day of the month, they have a green font. And I like that because there's a running theme. There's consistency in their designs, and that's something showing there's a unique signature for this brand. And a lot of us always say we're looking for something different. Well, this is something different. Now, it's not for everyone, and I'll tell you why, because it's not an inexpensive watch. And as I mentioned, there are a couple of quirks that need to be addressed, which I'll mention in my room for improvement section of this video. Now, March LAB has sponsored this video, so I will of course leave a link in the description section if this watch interests you. By all means, feel free to check it out. Now, one of the things that I do like about this brand, apart from their designs, they do have brick and mortar stores spread all around France. And I think that's important when you want to try a watch on or go into a store and actually get hands-on with a piece. Now, I did say that they're listening because this particular watch comes in at 36mm and their previous version that I reviewed was 39. And for a square or a rectangular shaped watch, I think a 36mm is more than sufficient to give you a lot of wrist presence. 39 was just a little bit overbearing. And diving straight into the specs of this watch, I measure a case diameter of 36 and a case height of 12.3. That lug to lug is 40.6 and a lug width of 20. Now, the crown is a signed screw down crown. It's hand engraved with a gear shaped pattern. The watch offers 100 meters of water resistance, and the total weight on the supplied bracelet sized to my 18cm wrist, I measure exactly 83 grams. Now, on the wrist, 83 grams is nothing, especially with a bracelet. And the articulation and comfort on that bracelet has actually been very, very good. However, when it comes to that clasp, I still have some gripes. It's a nice seamless integration, but just getting this darn watch on and off the wrist is difficult, to say the least. So I've actually opted to wear it with aftermarket straps, not because it's any more comfortable. It's actually just as comfortable on the bracelet. It's just difficult to put on and off the wrist. So I've worn the watch mainly on aftermarket straps to be able to experience it on the wrist throughout the week. Now, looking at that dial, you can see there's a lot of intricate detail. This is where this company, I think, pays a lot of attention to detail. Very 70s inspired with its case shape and overall dial layout. And this particular one here that they're releasing as an anniversary model features a Swiss automatic GMT movement. It's a La Jouperet G110. It's got around 68 hours of power reserve. It's a cordless GMT, and in usage, the watch has been functioning flawlessly. Now, turning the watch over, you can see there's a solid case back. As you'll notice, that bracelet has quick release spring bars, which is great because it's allowed me to take the bracelet off and enjoy it on different straps. And one of the technologies they've spoken about in this watch, firstly, it's grade 5 titanium, but there's some sort of anti-fingerprint sort of coating, I don't know, what have you. It doesn't work. Look, whether my hands are dirty or not, but I've fingerprinted this watch. It does definitely fingerprint. I don't know how you can get around that. Now, when I turned the lights off, I went into a dimly lit room to examine the lume. The lume is negligible at best, and that's pretty similar to some of the other watches that I've reviewed. And again, that's one area where I think they should be addressing. Not that it's really necessary for a watch of this sort of styling or caliber, but if you're going to put lume, well, put something a little bit substantial. That's my opinion. And lastly, before I get onto my gripes or room for improvement, the price. I hope you're sitting down because this watch comes in at €2,595. And it's limited to 133 pieces. And that, in my opinion, honestly, that's a bit of a bummer. It is expensive and limited editions, no one's really a fan. but I get what they're doing. It's a special anniversary model. There's only 133 pieces for the month of March, and they do this once a year. So in that regard, happy to forgive it because it's not across the rest of their watches. Now, all that said, what are my gripes or room for improvement of this watch? And first and foremost, as I mentioned, that clasp. Love the design, love the integration, love the way it feels under the wrist. I just don't like the fact that it's so difficult to get off the wrist. It's a so-so experience in putting it on, but it's very difficult, for me anyway, on trying to get this watch off the wrist. And I think, honestly, just a butterfly, if you're not going to put on-the-fly adjustment clasp on a watch like this, just a butterfly clasp. It would have sufficed. It just would have made life a lot easier for enjoying the watch on that bracelet. Next critique for me is the watch comes in at 12.3mm. Now, that's not thick, but it's not thin at the same time. And a 36mm diameter watch, that looks a little bit thick. If this was a 41 or 42, you'd get lost. You wouldn't see that in the proportions. But because it is a smaller watch, 12.3 does look bigger visually on the eyes. Now, does it wear big? No, it doesn't. It wears really well on the wrist, but yes, it does stand a little bit proud, a little bit tall. And I think that's an area where if they could shave a couple of mil, it'd be a real delight on the wrist. Another observation throughout the week has been rotor noise. With that La Joux-Perret, you can hear the rotor. And I think with this particular one, because being a smaller watch, maybe I've heard it a little bit more than normal. For me, it doesn't bother me, but I am mentioning it for you guys so you can know. And lastly, of course, that price. It's not an inexpensive watch, but you know what, guys? There is a market for this because every single year when I see these guys release a watch, they sell out. So even with all its quirks and its room for improvement, this particular brand has a following, especially in France, where they have a lot of outlets where you can actually go in and try the watches on and look at them before you purchase them. So I suppose there is a market and a very healthy one at that. So I hope you enjoyed that, guys. My take on this watch, the new release from March LAB. It's smaller, but it does have a very good wrist presence on the wrist, and I think you guys were right. And if they could address a couple of the little concerns that I've had in this review, then the watches will go a long way in being just that little bit more refined. So thank you for watching, guys. Be well, be safe. Try not to spend too much money on this hobby because it can get out of hand pretty quickly. Enjoy the rest of your day or afternoon, whichever part of the world you're in, and we'll see you in the next one.